this week, including a few new bits and bobs I've acquired recently, some weathering and a few bits and bobs on the layout, so hopefully you enjoy that. First couple of things to update on is I've acquired this Class 91, I think it is, intercity set. So I'll just show how I weathered this up today. Basically, I've just got the power car there, and then a couple of Mark III coaches, I think they are. I don't really know that much about this kind of stuff. And then is it a trailer car or something? It's basically the non-powered version that goes at the other end, driving trailer, I think it's called. So I haven't done too much on this really. I've just kind of weathered the underframe, the tops, and done a few bits and bobs with the airbrush and weathering powders and things. It doesn't actually work at the minute. I'll show you in a sec, but the motor works fine when I put a 9-volt battery on it. It's just the wheels that don't seem to be picking up any power, so I'm guessing it might just need a new set of wheels. But if anyone's got any knowledge or expertise on getting these old ring-filled motors to work, or I've had these similar issues with them in the past, I'll leave my email in the video description, so just drop me a line or stick a comment on or something if you've got any tips or advice to help me get this running again. If I turn the power up on this, you might be able to hear it on the video. There's something going on in there, but that motor just isn't budging. Even if I give it a wiggle. So the other thing I've got recently is this Class 33, which is D6508, Eastleigh I think it's called. This is the newer Heljan version, I think, and I just got this just to upgrade from my older Class 27, which is still good, but I just fancied upgrading it to the newer version with all the extra detail and stuff on it. So if you're interested in the Class 27, it is for sale at the minute. So again, my email's in the video description, so if you're interested, just give me a shout and I'll let you know the details. But yeah, I'll show you how I weathered this up in a minute. I've not gone too crazy on it. I've tried to keep it fairly light. So yeah, we'll head downstairs and get on the weathering bench. Right, so this is what I was talking about a minute ago in regards to the Class 91. So if I put the 9-volt battery on this part of the ring-filled motor, it works fine. It's just the wheels don't seem to pick up any power, so I'm guessing I just need to replace those wheels. So yeah, there's nothing spinning on these at all. I'm not even sure how you take these wheels out. I guess you kind of stick a flat head in there and prise one of the wheels off, then you can pull the axle out the socket. But anyway, if anyone's got any tips on that, let me know. So I'm going to keep the weathering on these fairly simple. I'm just loading up the airbrush at the minute. I've put a mix of Tamiya black, red brown, grey, and slightly darker brown as well. I think it's just like a regular brown colour. I've just mixed those up with a couple of drops of water as well. I'm just going to give the underframe an overall spray on this really. Exact same on the Class 33. Just give that whole underframe a bit of a spray with that same mix. I'm trying to keep the 33 pretty clean, so I'm using rather than taping it all up, I'm just going to use a bit of plastic card to kind of cover the body there. I'll put up a reference photo that I'm using for this in a sec. And the underframe's filthy, but it must have been through some kind of carriage washer or something, because the sides are still quite shiny. Just doing the front there as well, including the buffers and the buffer beam, and I'll take a bit of that off later on. I'll show you using a cotton bud and some alcohol. This airbrush that I'm using at the minute is I think it was £20 off Amazon, £20 off Amazon. So it's a pretty cheap one, but it works fine. You know, what I use it for, it meets all my needs. So I guess you don't really need to spend a fortune if you want a decent one. And even the compressor that I've got, which is just out of shot at the minute, that's just a cheap one as well. So it works pretty well. And I find the Tamiya paints flow through the airbrush really well too. You don't have to worry, you don't even have to thin them, to be honest. You can just put them straight in it and it'll work perfectly fine. So I'm just working my way through the rest of these now. I'm just doing the Class 91 on the other side. And I think this is the locomotive and coaches that you got with one of the Hornby starter sets back in the day. I'm guessing this is from like the early 90s or late 80s. And it probably hasn't ran in a good probably 15 years or so. So it's no wonder it isn't working at the minute, but hopefully we'll be able to get it fixed. I'm not being too careful with getting stuff on the body here, because if I need to, I can just take that back off with a cotton bud. And just doing the front of this one too. I think Hornby do a new detailed version of this, so I might even have a look at that if I can't get it working, and maybe just get the new drive-in trailer to go with the coaches and the other end that I've already got. So I'm just doing the roof with basically the exact same kind of muddy brown mix, just to take the kind of plasticky finish off the top. And I'm carrying on doing the same thing here on the coaches as well. Just filling up the airbrush again. I think I've run out of paint. I don't worry too much about getting the exact same mix or colour in the airbrush, so I'll just put like a few, just a bit of a squirt of each colour from the pipette back in there again, a couple of drops of water, and just go again. And then back onto the roof for this one. Sometimes I cover up the sides with a bit of tape. I have done that on my Mark 1s where I've tried to keep them quite shiny on the sides, but with this I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to give a bit of an overall spray to the roof. Right, back onto the Class 33. I've got a part of Citadel non-oil here, which is it's basically just a black wash. You can use anything for this really. And I've got a really thin paintbrush, and I'm just going to put that into the recesses all over the roof, and then on the door, where the door fits into the body as well. And that will just bring out some of those panel lines and things like that. This is an acrylic wash. I think you can use an oil wash that will probably work better, if not just as good. This is just what I've got to hand at the minute. And then where I'm getting a bit too much wash on there and getting it onto the body, I can just take that off with a cotton bud. Even if it dries, just a bit of water on the end of it, it will just come off no problem. And one good thing about using the acrylic washes for this kind of thing is that they dry so quick that you don't have to kind of wait around for them before you go on to the next stage and start airbrushing, which is good. Doesn't matter if this stands out a bit too much either at this stage, because I'm going to airbrush over the top of it, so that'll kind of blend some of this in a bit more. Just adding a bit of streaking on there by running the wash down the side of the roof with the cotton bud. Same on the front. I'm just adding some non-oil wash around the headlight, and then I'll take that back a bit because there's a little bit too much on there at the minute. And the same around the other lights and the lamp irons and the various pipes that are on the buffer beam as well. Exact same thing on the other side. when I'm filming close up on my layout, taking photos, this is the area that you obviously see in a lot of detail, so I want to try and make sure I'm getting this right. I've got a bit of overspray on the front of the loco there, you can see, but again, I'll probably take that back with a cotton bud with some alcohol on it. Right, so I've got the cotton buds, dipped it in the IPA, and I'm just going to take a bit of that wash and that weathering off, just to give it the appearance like it's had a rag over it, or it's been through a washing plant or something. The cotton bud's okay, but it doesn't really get into the cracks and crevices around that headlight, so I'm going to come back with a thin paintbrush in a minute, and also have that dipped in the IPA and just take a little bit more of that off. Right, I'm trying something new here which didn't work out very well. I saw a video on the McKinley Railway channel where they were weathering up some of their diesels, and they used these oil brusher paints on the side of the loco to give it almost like a faded green effect. So I picked up a couple of those and had a go at it here, and you'll see in a sec I found that it literally didn't make any difference to the color of the body sides of mine whatsoever. So maybe I just didn't get a light enough green, I guess. But it's okay. I mean, it was worth a try. Sometimes you just got to try out these other techniques and see what works for you and what doesn't. So again, I've got the cotton bud dipped in the IPA here, and I'm just rubbing the axle boxes there and a few of the other detail that's picked out in a different colour, like the red springs on the wheels and the yellow bit on the axle box, just because I think it looks better when you can see it a little bit more. I don't want to just kind of cake it in muck and then not be able to see those cool little details. And then similarly, I'm just taking off a bit of the muck on the buffer beam as well, just to brighten up the red a bit, like it's, that's where the rain's kind of fallen and washed a bit of the muck off, or someone's given it a quick polish and left all the muck in the recesses there. Again, the cotton bud's probably not the best tool for this. I've whipped the thin paintbrush out, dipped that in the IPA, and I'm doing the same thing here. It's just brightening up that area a bit now. Now I'm putting the splodge of buffer grease on, which was really common on these. They had really big buffers, so it was quite a prominent feature. I'm just using a bit of black, cheap acrylic paint, dipping the cotton bud in it, and then just sticking it onto the buffers. Pretty straightforward. There we go. Test out the sprung buffers as well while you're at it. Right, that's that done. Someone just coming over to check on my progress here, just confirming that he's pleased and impressed with my work so far. Right, so I whipped the tape out for this bit because I just wanted to do the roof in one go, and probably couldn't have covered it all with the with that piece of plastic card I was using earlier. So I've just used duct tape for this. I've not really stuck it on all over the body. I've just stuck it, as little as possible. So when I take it off, it's not going to pull all the separately fitted details. I'm using the same mix that I did for the underframe here, but I've just put a little bit more grey and black in. So I'm just slowly building that up a bit over the top. I'm going to give it an overall dusting, and then I'll go a bit heavier around the exhaust grill and a few other bits, and the kind of vents on the side. After I did this and I took the tape off, I realised I'd covered a bit of the roof, so you can see there's like a lighter strip along the bottom there. So after all that, I still had to get the plastic card out and use that. I think the airbrush was spitting a bit then, so I just quickly sorted that out. There we go, it's working again now. So yeah, just covering up that slightly lighter strip and finishing off the roof. And then the same on the other side. I've just put black in now, and I'm just going over the exhaust vent. At least I think that's the exhaust vent. There we go. Nearly finished. So dirty roof, dirty underframe, and then relatively clean on the sides. So probably one of the most important bits, make sure the wheels are actually clean. So I just use the classic 9-volt battery here, stick it on the wheels, and just take off as much paint as I can around the rim. These wheels have got like a nice white trim around them, so you can see like where I've airbrushed the underframe, it's covered like the bottom half of the wheel, but where the wheel was hidden by the bogie, it's still white. So I'm just going to clean the rims as well, just to make sure that it's white all the way around. But I'm going to keep a bit of muck on there as well. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. Those the wheels look like they're kind of just constantly flashing. See the headlight going off there as well? So I also realised, because I hadn't spun the wheels when I was using the airbrush, the inside part of the wheel was still shiny, half of it. So I'm using a bit of grey paint there and spinning the wheels while the paintbrush is on them, just to kind of coat that inside bit of the wheel the same colour, so it doesn't look like, you know, it's like flashing silver as it's driving past the camera. And then of course I need to do the same thing on the other side now too. Right, there's the finished Class 91 on the layout. I haven't really done too much to it, to be honest, but it just blends in a bit better and doesn't look as out of place as it did before when it was all shiny. So again, if you think you might be able to help me get this running again, or have any advice on how to sort it, please let me know. In a minute I'm going to have to shunt it along with something else if I want to run it. And then there is the Class 33, which is now sorted and on the layout too. So I'll just get you some close-up shots of how it ended up looking. Again, it's a fairly light weathering, but it just means it all kind of blends in a bit now. One thing I did to it that I forgot to film actually is I just used my dark earth and rust weathering powders just to add like a few little patches of colour variation on the underframe there. You can just kind of see on that bit there, just to twitch it up a bit. Again, those oil paints I put on the side, you can't see that at all, so it didn't make any difference whatsoever. So maybe that's something I need to look into a bit more. And a reminder that if you would like the Class 27, that's up for grabs at the minute. So yeah, just drop me a message on that one. So hopefully that was relatively interesting. I'll get back to the running videos next week, and hopefully should have a Hornby Standard Class 2 and a Curious Scale Class 37 arriving fairly shortly, that I pre-ordered years and years ago. So looking forward to getting those on the layout and getting those weathered up too. So thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.